Thank you, Mr. Chope, and I commend my honourable friend from Boston Skegness for securing this debate this morning, which I think is hugely important. I'd like to focus primarily on a point that my honourable friend just made around this interdepartmental work and why it's so important we have joined-up thinking with regard to coastal towns. And if the members present, honourable members, will indulge me, I'll do that with reference particularly to my constituency of Great Yarmouth, as I know other members are here and speak for their own constituencies. Great Yarmouth, I think, really does highlight exactly why coastal towns are so important, why there's so much diversity within them, and why it's important to tie together important improvements in infrastructure, both in transport and communications, recognition of industry in terms of tourism, but also the niche industries some of our constituencies deal with. My own constituency has companies supplying the defence industry, oil and gas, and obviously being so close to the wind farms and having what was the largest offshore wind farm in Europe, renewable energy with the new wind farms to come. But we also suffer with coastal erosion, therefore we're seeing parts of our constituencies erode away. In terms of transport, we do need, in order to see real economic growth, improvements of infrastructure, both in roads and rail, but also in terms of broadband, so that the companies we've got that are looking to take advantage of niche industries can communicate through broadband. And that is a massively important tool moving forward. And as has already been touched on, tourism itself is often undervalued as one of the most cost-effective industries in which to increase employment. In constituencies such as Great Yarmouth, where over 5,000 people are employed in it, it's worth about £500 million to the economy and claims to be, in some figures, probably the second largest seaside resort in the country. We feel we play our part for the economy, and we cover everything from straight tourism, seaside tourism, the Norfolk Broads, stately homes, which we share with my honourable friend in Waveney, as well as gambling, horse racing, a dog track, bingo, and everything that covers the whole remit. We also have the offshore oil and gas and renewables to come, but we do suffer hugely with coastal erosion. And there is a real need, I think, for a clear, transparent policy around coastal erosion. None of us, I think none of our residents, genuinely believe that we can protect every inch of coastline. The economy doesn't allow for that. Nature doesn't allow for that. But there is certainly a need for something very transparent and very clear about what we can do, and to make sure that the money that departments can put in and DEFRA can put into coastal erosion is spent on actually protecting the coastline. In Great Yarmouth in the last 4 or 5 years, in a rough estimate, it seems that between Pathfinder and the previous government's other schemes, we've spent getting on for £500,000 on producing reports, often to lead to another report, and not a single bit of work done to actually protect the coastline. And one of our key areas that's looking for work to protect this coastline, which my honourable friend has seen, an area called Scrapby itself could have probably finished most of its coastal erosion protection with the very money that's going into more and more reports. And at a time where the previous government was putting out £200,000 to an area like Great Yarmouth just before the election, coincidentally, I'm sure that was not meant as an election tool, it was also penalising areas like Great Yarmouth, where we've got an outer harbour, a new harbour, with a deep water port that can service our country with a port tax. And we've got to get away from that kind of mixed-up thinking and give a very clear message and be very clear and honest about what we can do to protect our coastline and where. I won't speak for long because I know other members wish to speak, but I think already I've highlighted why this cross-departmental work is so important. We have got Department of Local Government and Communities that's important in terms of allowing local authorities to really look after the residents that come into it through the improved ability to, with the removing the RSS and the potentials for council tax and business tax rates to, in some cases and in some conditions, move back to local authorities to let them move forward. We've also got DCMS, which obviously covers tourism, gambling and those areas. It's so important to an area like Great Yarmouth. DEFRA for the coastal erosion. The Department of Transport for those transport links, and DCMS for broadband, and the Department of Health in terms of how alcohol, often through visitors, is costing so much to our health service and therefore our economy as a whole. With all of those departments having such vital parts to play in a constituency like Great Yarmouth and coastal constituencies across our country, it seems to me that the most important request I can make from the government today and from the Minister today is that we do have this cross-departmental work in both at an officer level and, if we can, at a ministerial level, to make sure that our coastal towns that can provide so much in terms of moving our economy forward, in developing new renewable energy industries, in developing our tourism industry even further, can work together to show that growth for both their own communities and for our country in a wider sense. Thank you.